Disturbing revelations from the OceanGate Titan disaster. Like, you guys remember this, don't you? The ship that went deep underwater, like near the depths of the ocean, and then it got lost. We couldn't track it, and then we were trying to look for it because they only had a certain amount of oxygen left, and we didn't find it in time. It was like a massive story, I think last year, wasn't it? And it seems like the more time that passes, the more we learn that it was just not managed properly. The technology used on the craft wasn't appropriate. The glass wasn't strong enough. There was just so many corners that were cut that, it just feels like, I'm sure there's been massive lawsuits filed. The company's probably gone bankrupt. But yeah, even more stuff has come to the public knowledge.
Experimental sub. This is a dangerous environment. It's 6,000 psi.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at the most shocking things we've learned about the OceanGate Titan implosion since it happened in June 2023.
Subs are safe. They are so safe that the Coast Guard has never been called. They didn't know what to do.
The Logitech
Not so safe now.
controller.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
This was one of the first things the public found out about the submersible when it initially disappeared on June 18th. You can clearly see the controller, a Logitech F710, in a lot of the promotional and news coverage of the sub before the disaster, though it's been modified.
We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and the
I mean, that in itself is a red flag. You're risking your life going all the way to the bottom of the ocean, and you're using a games console controller to control the ship. I mean, it just doesn't really seem like legit, like serious.
these touch screens.
To the wider public, this was emblematic of janky engineering and cost cutting.
Yeah.
But it's not as alarming as it seems. It's actually very normal for video game controllers to be used for applications like this, and wasn't part of the design that raised red flags for anybody knowledgeable about underwater vehicles.
And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case.
Despite this, the lawsuit from Paul-Henri Nargeolet's family suing OceanGate for wrongful death has cited the controller.
This is an experimental sub. People are informed that it's very dangerous down there.
Waiver. As we just
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. If you're paying millions and millions of dollars to go down to the bottom of the ocean, at least build something a bit more durable, serious looking than that. Or what do you guys think? Do you think it doesn't really matter what controller they used? Would you get in the submarine if that was the controller?
said Nargeolet's family is suing OceanGate for wrongful death, despite the fact everybody on board was made to sign an extensive waiver that acknowledged they could die in a variety of ways. So here's the thing. The waiver reads, quote, "Any failure of the vessel while I am on board could cause severe injury or death," end quote, among other things.
It's a miracle it can do what it does when you look at it there, because when you look at it, it is very small. Yeah, it looks like it's put together with a piece of string, but it's not, obviously.
Lawsuits are ongoing, but it seems like the waiver could itself be waived if it's proven in court that there was gross negligence and not enough was done to mitigate the risks of going on board the Titan. Investigations are also still continuing, but as we'll talk about later, OceanGate was warned many times about the sub's dangers. This 4-page document may not be enough to protect the company in court.
The team always says, there's no guarantee you're going to see the bow, there's no guarantee you're going to get down there, because there's so many variables.
Salvage.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like, why did they cut so many corners? Like, if they weren't prepared to spend the money, or if they didn't have the investment, they should have just waited, shouldn't they? They should have just waited. Like, it's crazy that they went down there knowing that they hadn't done it properly.
Change our rate in a second. We are starting to come up.
We are?
Yep.
It is undeniable that corners were cut during the manufacturing of Titan, and nothing shows that more clearly than CEO Stockton Rush's insistence that they use salvage. In 2021, following 50 dives, the hull became damaged and a new one was required. But rather than build from scratch, Rush made them reuse the salvage from the previous one.
Unreal. That's just so cheap. Come on.
We are now taking a pretty significant exoskeleton structure, having to attach it to the primary pressure hull.
It seems doubtful that any other organization would have done something like this. You certainly wouldn't expect an aeronautics company to salvage and then reuse parts of a plane that had crashed.
Yeah.
Titan had also received damage already during an incident where its batteries had failed, making it even more dangerous to use.
But then he explained that like one of the batteries kind of went kaput, and we were having trouble using the electronic drops for the weight.
Personal.
Dude, the guy running that company was the biggest cheapskate in the world. To be honest, this is criminal negligence for sure. Like, that waiver should get tossed. It's ridiculous. Like, they used parts of a crashed submarine to, like, they've probably not even checked for like cracks and all that kind of stuff.
Insult.
Comparing Titan to a professionally built classed vehicle is like comparing a home-built microlight with a Boeing airliner.
In 2018, over 5 years before the sub's implosion, a deep-sea specialist named Rob McCallum had warned Stockton Rush about the sub. These email exchanges were made public by the BBC over in the UK and revealed that McCallum gave extensive and detailed criticisms and warnings about the safety of Titan.
A carbon fiber sub that's essentially a home build with no independent oversight is not up for the task.
Rush's responses, however, were frightening. He said, and we quote, "We have heard the baseless cries of 'you are going to kill someone' way too often. I take this as a serious personal insult." End quote.
Stockton threatened me with legal action if I went any further with my course of action.
McCallum spent years trying to persuade OceanGate to test the submersible properly, while Rush insisted that he didn't need to because doing so would, quote, "stifle innovation." The whistleblower.
Jeez, man, that guy, he really, really is a scumbag, in my opinion. Like, you know, I'm assuming, or was he down there? Was he on the ship? Like, if he's still alive and around, he should be in prison. Like, this is pretty much his fault.
Were you with OceanGate when they started sea trials for the Titan submersible?
I was let go beforehand.
Like Robert McCallum, David Lockridge was another person who warned Rush early, except that Lockridge actually worked for the company as its director of marine operations. Also in 2018, but before McCallum got involved, Lockridge sent Rush a list of over 24 flaws with Titan, refusing to approve it for further testing.
That material, they genuinely purchased that from Home Depot.
Rush's response was to fire Lockridge, who went on to blow the whistle on OceanGate to regulators, only to then get sued by Rush and forced to sign an NDA. In the aftermath of the disaster, all of this came to light. Without Lockridge, crude testing of Titan went ahead, and it eventually, if temporarily, succeeded at becoming a commercial endeavor.
And then would you describe Titan, based on the information that you know, as an experimental manned submersible?
Yeah.
No classification.
Jeez, man, this guy was something else. He was going to go down there no matter what. Like, nothing anybody could have said or done would have stopped him from going down there in that ship.
There was a request from OceanGate to have Titan certified. This was back in 2019, and this company denied the request to do that.
There were still more experts who contacted Rush to warn him, including a large group of members of the Marine Technology Society, an organization of industry professionals. They were extremely concerned about Rush's refusal to get Titan classified by any regulatory body, with Rush instead coming up with his own way to classify Titan by having one expert observe a dive and say, based on that alone, whether it was safe.
OceanGate, on its website, had said that they had decided to forego getting registered, saying that it was standing in the way of innovation.
OceanGate also refused to validate its designs to withstand pressure. Finally, Mark Negley, who worked for Boeing and had briefly helped Rush with designing Titan, also warned him that there was a, quote, high risk of significant failure. All of this was also in 2018, years before the fatal disaster.
The interest in the Titanic is the reason we go there, because people are willing to fund this kind of exploration and science.
Carbon fiber.
So many people told this guy, so many people warned him, and he just wasn't having it. Like, there's a fine line between, you know, being sort of like a trailblazer and then being like delusional. This guy clearly was delusional.
Do you have any questions about what's going on, about acoustic monitoring, about carbon fiber problems we had, rumors of problems we had, actual problems we had?
It wasn't the Logitech controller horrifying engineers in the wake of the implosion, but the news that the hull of Titan was made of carbon fiber. Stockton Rush's justification for using a carbon fiber composite was that it's used in planes and works fine there. But planes are pressurized from the inside out, and also don't need to withstand the pressure of the ocean 4,000 meters deep.
There's no doubt in my mind that it was the carbon fiber tube that was the mechanical part that failed.
In 2022, a year before the incident, there was a loud acoustic event during Titan's ascension, which was eventually determined to have been the carbon fiber hull delaminating.
On mission 4, when we got to the surface, Scott was piloting. He heard a really loud bang, not a soothing sound, but on the surface.
Essentially, this means it's already come apart inside and is just waiting to collapse completely, which is exactly what happened the following year. The alarm.
Sheesh, man. I mean, like, yeah, I think we've seen at least 10 examples in this video where this guy could have like listened and probably still been alive, and all these people on board would have been alive. But because of his stubbornness, like, yeah, it cost him everything.
Everything that could go wrong was sort of going wrong. There were snagging hazards, there were important components attached with zip ties, flammable flooring.
One of the most chilling details about Titan was its RTM, real-time monitoring system. According to OceanGate, this would pick up a sound like the loud acoustic event in 2022 that indicated delamination had happened, and the sub would then be able to ascend.
So even baselining an alarm system based on that is already beyond the pale of anything I would say real sub-designers would ever, entertain.
But as we later found out, this alarm would only sound moments, perhaps even less than a second, before a catastrophic implosion, giving nobody in the sub time to react, let alone time to reach the surface, which takes hours from the Titanic wreck. We may never know for sure whether any of the passengers had time to process what was about to happen before it did.
I know it's no great comfort to the families and spouses, but they did die instantaneously. They were not even aware that anything was wrong.
Honestly, that's probably the best way, like in this circumstance, to go, rather than, panicking, trying to like stop the thing from like, breaking down and all of that stuff. Just quick, like let it happen quick.
James Cameron speaks out.
You don't move fast and break things, as they say in Silicon Valley, if the thing you're going to break has got you inside it. Along with other innocent people who believe your line of BS.
One person who's talked frequently about the disaster is world-famous director James Cameron, also known for his extensive interest in ocean exploration, particularly the wreck of the Titanic. Cameron was all over the news in the aftermath, talking about OceanGate and Stockton Rush, explaining that, unlike Rush, he's always taken regulations and safety rules extremely seriously, as do most people working in the field.
But nobody could admit that they didn't have the means to go down and look. So they were running all over the surface.
Cameron himself has been to the Titanic over 30 times. He also said that he and other people in the community realized extremely early into the disappearance.
What is that stuff? Is that just rust? Is this all just rust? It's weird how it forms underwater, isn't it?
The disappearance, that an implosion had almost certainly already happened.
They were informed by naval intelligence that an implosion event was tracked to the coordinate of the Titanic wreck site.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. Wendy Rush heard the implosion.
Titan confirms they're on the bow of the Titanic.
We know that the Navy had tracked the implosion when it happened, but according to James Cameron, the U.S. Coast Guard was unable to investigate because it didn't actually have any remote-operated vehicles on hand. But it wasn't just the Navy that heard it. In 2024, footage was released showing Wendy Rush, Stockton's widow, monitoring the sub from the surface.
That thud.
It's hard to hear, but there's a small sound.
Did you hear it?
And she reacts by asking...
Hold on, let me rewind it. There's definitely like a thud.
And she reacts... It's hard to hear, but there's a small sound. And she reacts by asking the people around her what it was. Unbeknownst to everybody, that was the exact moment the submarine imploded.
Wow.
All of it happening in less than a second.
Debris was found right in that search area on the seafloor, just 1,600 feet away from the bow of the Titanic.
Let us know if you'll be...
Crazy, man. Like, that man's arrogance, you know, was the whole... That was what's responsible for this whole disaster. Like, his inability to just, like, listen to people's advice, even if the people were far more qualified than him, like, they knew what they were talking about. Like, and it was numerous people. Like, surely, you know, if 10 people are telling you or me something, part of our brain would be like, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe they're onto something. But this guy was like, no way. And the crazy thing is, it's not like it was something that, it was such a high stakes thing. Like, you would think that if you're doing something super high stakes, if almost every expert has told you that don't do it, it's going to fail, you'd be like, okay, fine. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.